Hey everyone, it's Caitlin and welcome to another video. In this video, I'm going to be showing you 3 vegan breakfasts that would be perfect for the holiday season. I made all of these recipes with Christmas in mind, like that Christmas breakfast that you have with your family, your friends, or your loved ones where you cook up something extra special, but they're all still super easy and simple to make and they taste absolutely delicious. So I'm going to show you how to make some fluffy gingerbread pancakes, a sweet potato and rosemary vegan quiche, and last but not least, some cranberry orange bread. Like I said, these breakfasts are perfect for a special occasion, but they're also great any time of year if you just want to feel a little bit more festive or you're getting ready for the holiday season. So let's get into them and I will show you how to make them right now. First things first, we're going to be making some fluffy gingerbread pancakes. And for this recipe, we're going to first make some vegan buttermilk. And we're going to be using soy milk for this recipe and then add some apple cider vinegar into the soy milk as well. And the apple cider vinegar is going to interact with the protein in the soy milk to make it nice and chunky, which we will see in a little bit. But for now, we're going to move on to our dry ingredients, which includes some oat flour as well as some buckwheat flour, and then a bunch of different spices and salt and baking powder. These are all of our gingerbread spices. All of them will be linked in the recipe in the description below. You could also use a gingerbread spice blend if you don't have all these spices in your pantry. We're going to whisk all of this together until everything is evenly combined and we get a nice spicy bite in all of our batter. And then as you can see, the soy milk has kind of thickened, there are chunks in it. I would totally recommend using soy milk for this recipe and not another vegan milk because the soy milk has the highest protein content and this is what actually makes the buttermilk and it's going to help make the pancakes so much more fluffy. So then for the rest of our wet ingredients for the pancakes, we're going to be using a thickened flax egg along with a little bit of molasses for that classic gingerbread flavor. And then you're going to slowly whisk the soy milk in with the molasses and the flax egg until everything is well combined. Then we're just going to pour this in with our dry ingredients and fold everything together. The mixture may look slightly clumpy as you mix it, but that's totally okay. As long as the majority of the clumps are out, like you can see here, you are good to go. So then we're just going to cook our pancakes. I used a 1/2 cup measuring scoop to pour the batter on, and you're going to bake it over medium-ish heat for about 3 to 4 minutes, and then you're going to flip the pancake and cook it for another 2 to 3 minutes depending how well done you like your pancake. And I'm using a non-stick skillet, so I didn't need to use any oil when I cooked my pancakes, but if your skillet isn't as new or it's not non-stick, you will need to grease it with some spray or vegan butter or coconut oil or whatever you want. But once you're done, you'll get around 8 nice and fluffy pancakes. Let's ignore the fact that the one pancake that I just picked up is kind of messed up, and then I'm just going to cover it up again. But either way, the pancakes are yummy and delicious. And then I decided to make a vegan cream cheese icing to drizzle on top so they would kind of look more like gingerbread cookies. So I'm just using some store-bought vegan cream cheese. I like Kite Hill, about 1/2 of a tablespoon or a tablespoon of maple syrup, depending how sweet you like things, along with a touch of vanilla extract. And then we're going to whisk this together, and as you can see, the mixture is a little too thick for drizzling at this point, so I just slowly added water to the mixture and whisked it together until I got that icing, that royal icing consistency that I was looking for my pancakes. You could also just top your pancakes with regular maple syrup if you want. I think they would be still totally yummy and delicious, or you could just use regular accidentally vegan frosting. But however you decide to serve them, they are nice and fluffy and delicious, as you can see here. And these pancakes also freeze well, so you can make a large batch and reheat them. They'd be great for a festival meal prep throughout the work week if you want to get extra fancy and in the holiday spirit. Now we're going to take a break from the sweet and move on to the savory with this vegan rosemary quiche with caramelized onions. So to start out, we're going to caramelize our onions. I've shown you guys this before, but I wanted just to show you again how to caramelize onions without oil. Basically, you're going to add your onions to a nonstick pan and add a splash of vegetable broth, and then you're just going to cook them over medium to medium high heat until the onions become nice and translucent. And the key here is to keep cooking the onions down until all of the moisture becomes evaporated and they become more and more translucent, and the flavors from the vegetable broth also get absorbed into the onions and they become more brown. And as you can see, there's also some burned stuff on the bottom of the pan, so we're going to keep repeating this process and get that stuff off the bottom of the pan, which is a technique also known as deglazing. And eventually, as you can see, the onions will get more and more tender and their natural sweetness will come out. So once our onions are caramelized, we're actually going to add our cubed sweet potato to the same pan with a touch of water and just cover this and let it steam for about 5 or so minutes just to soften the sweet potato up enough so it will completely cook once the quiche is in the oven. So then for our actual quiche, for our dry ingredients, we're using a base of chickpea flour along with nutritional yeast and some turmeric for color. That's our base quiche. We're also going to be adding some baking powder to make things a little bit more fluffy, as well as some salt. And for some seasonings, I decided to add some rosemary, some thyme, and some black pepper. So then you're going to whisk all of this together until, again, it's all evenly incorporated, and then you're going to add in some plant-based milk. You can really use any milk you'd like here. I think I just used almond milk when I was making this. And then whisk this together to form our batter. And then last but not least, we're just going to fold in those slightly steamed sweet potatoes along with the caramelized onions and mix everything together. And then we're going to transfer this into a pie tin. I am using my easy vegan pie crust recipe that I've already shown you multiple times. The recipe will be linked down below, but you could also use another store-bought pie crust if you liked. This one is gluten-free, it's also grain-free, and it's made with only 3 ingredients. So I think it's pretty tasty and pretty snazzy. But again, you do you, boo. Either way, just add the quiche ingredients into the pie tin and smooth it out with a spatula, and then you're just going to pop this into the oven until everything becomes nice and cooked and done and delicious. And it'll look a little bit something like this. And then at this point, you can serve it warm. I prefer my quiche to be warm. You could let it cool and reheat it as well if you'd like. The leftovers will last in the fridge, but either way, as you guys can see here, you still get a really nice sort of eggy texture and consistency, even though there are no eggs or chickens in this recipe at all. Last but not least, we're going to be making some cranberry orange bread. This was actually my favorite holiday treat as a kid, so I was happy to make a vegan version of it. So for our bread base, we're actually just going to be using oat flour, some baking powder, and some baking soda, as well as a pinch of salt, and then we're going to whisk all of that together until everything is evenly distributed. Then for our wet ingredients, we're going to be using some coconut sugar and some full fat coconut milk. You do need to use the full fat because the fat in the recipe helps make the bread more light and fluffy. We're also going to be using a thickened flax egg and some applesauce. Then last but not least, some orange zest and vanilla extract for that classic cranberry orange flavor. Oops, we're also going to add in some apple cider vinegar. That is actually so it will react with the baking soda once the bread goes into the oven, and it will rise and get nice and fluffy. So you're going to whisk all of those ingredients together and then add them into the center of the dry ingredients, and then just use a spatula to fold the batter together and mix until everything is evenly incorporated. The mixture will be pretty thick, but it's going to be nice and light and fluffy once we put it into the oven. But before we add it to the oven, we gotta add our cranberries, and I am using fresh cranberries. I love the tartness of the fresh cranberries, so you could use dried cranberries if you want the recipe to be a little sweeter, but we're actually going to be coating our cranberries in about a tablespoon of oat flour, and this helps them to not sink lower in the bread, and also once the cranberries release liquid as they cook down, it won't seep into the bread as much, and it will prevent the bread from getting super soggy. So after you've folded the cranberries into the mixture, you can grease or line an 8 by 3 inch bread pan and just plop all that batter in there, smooth it out on top with a spatula until it's nice and even, and then put that in the oven to bake. Once it comes out of the oven, it'll look a little bit something like this, and you want to remove it and let it cool completely. And then once the bread is cool, it will be nice and fluffy, and as you can see, we got a nice thickness going on there, but we're going to be topping it with some frosting. Now, I decided to make a healthier frosting by using coconut butter, which I melted a little bit in the microwave. As you can see, it has a nice runny texture to it. And then to sweeten up the coconut butter, we're going to add some maple syrup, about a tablespoon or so, and then we're going to mix this together. And as you can see, the mixture itself is getting pretty thick and not spreadable. So then at this point, we have to thin it out with water. You're just going to add water in about 1 tablespoon increments and mix it together. And as you can see, this is starting to loosen up the coconut butter and maple syrup spread until you get a frosting-like consistency. If you want to make a normal frosting with powdered sugar and almond milk, you can totally do that too. I just wanted to provide a healthier option. But I will say, if you are using this, because of the water in it, I would just glaze it right before you're serving it to prevent the bread from getting super soggy, and also afterwards you need to store it in the fridge, otherwise it will go bad a lot faster. But I topped my bread with an extra dollop of orange zest, as you saw there, and then it is ready to serve. I think this is yummy enough to have as a more indulgent holiday breakfast, but it's also delicious enough to have as a lighter dessert too. Alright guys, that is it for this video. Leave a comment below telling me which breakfast idea looked the most yummy to you and which one you want to make first. And as always, all of the full recipes will be linked in the video description as well, so you can go to my website and check them out and print them for later. I also have a ton of other yummy recipes that would be perfect for a Christmas breakfast, so I will link those down below too. Other than that, I think that is everything. I hope you guys are having a great holiday season so far. I'm excited to share one more recipe video with you guys with a holiday theme. So if you like this video, give it a thumbs up, leave a comment below, and subscribe if you feel so inclined. I post a recipe video every single week, and hope you guys have an awesome rest of your day, whatever time of day it is for you, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!